First Sergeant Belford has served in the 75th Ranger Regiment, 3rd Ranger Battalion, in all duty positions as a first sergeant.
Show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
I've heard a lot of people say that you are an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so you should be careful who you surround yourself with, because if you're hanging out with one loser, then you're 20% loser.
Don't ever base someone or a leader off what they have done. Base it off what they are doing.
How do you differentiate between fighting in Iraq and fighting in Afghanistan?
You are respected in my company, not because of the uniform you put on, but because of the air you breathe as a human every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Black Side Show again with episode 9, man. 9 episodes so far.
9 episodes. Nice.
We are proud. We're doing pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Today's guest is a special guest. You know, I was really interested in his background, and I think today's guest is going to explain a lot of things. You know, many people, especially teenagers nowadays, thinking about how to become a Ranger, right? Mm-hmm. It's actually one of the most searched things in the engine. You know, like people are always wondering how hard to be Ranger. What is the PT test like?
Right.
What is like? So we brought somebody who was actually one of the most highly decorated Rangers out there. Today we have First Sergeant Jason Belford. First Sergeant Jason Belford enlisted in the United States Army on April 15 in 2005. He completed basic training and advanced individual training at Fort Benning, Georgia. First Sergeant Belford has served in the 75th Ranger Regiment, 3rd Ranger Battalion, in all duty positions as a first sergeant. He's currently serving as the Bravo Company First Sergeant in the Officers Candidate School, OCS. He has also served in the 10th Mountain Division stationed out of Fort Polk, Louisiana, where he did 2 deployments with the 2 and the 4th Infantry Battalion.
First Sergeant Belford's awards and decorations include 2 Bronze Star medals, 2 Meritorious Service medals, 7 Army Accommodation medals, 2 Joint Service Achievement medals, 2 Joint Service Accommodation medals with a C device, 5 Army Achievement medals, the National Defense Service Medal with SilverStar, 5 Army Good Conduct medals, the Afghan Campaign Medal with SilverStar, the Global War on Terrorism Medal, 2 Humanitarian Service medals, the Non-Commissioned Officer Professional Development Ribbon with the Roman numeral 4, the Army Service Ribbon, the Overseas Service Ribbon with the Roman numeral 8, the Operation Enduring Freedom Medal, Operation Inherent Resolve Medal, and the NATO Medal.
Great background.
That's quite an accomplished list of things.
Yeah.
How long have you been serving now, Jason?
I just hit 17 years in April.
Wow.
Wow, man. Well, I'd like to congratulate you on an amazing career. And, you know, I would have to ask you before we start the show, which one has better weather, Iraq or Fort Polk, Louisiana?
Iraq.
See, I got you there. You know, I was actually training PSYOP officers for like 12 years in Fort Polk, Louisiana. And I used to actually tell them, Iraq is not that bad, actually. And yeah, Fort Polk, Louisiana, that if you ever been there, I don't know, being in the Navy, you probably have never seen Fort Polk, Louisiana, but no. Dude, you're talking about if you go there in the summer, you will hate yourself.
Oh, really?
Holy
Is
fuck.
it swampy or
the mosquitoes will carry you away?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
It's so humid. Like, it's bad, you know? Like, I used to train a lot of the U.S. advisors that were going over to Iraq and Syria, and I used to tell them, look, man, everything is going to be okay right from here. Once you leave this place, Tigerland, it's called Tigerland. Once you leave Tigerland, everything's going to be okay.
It gets better.
Yeah, it gets better because it really sucked. Jason, thank you so much for coming with us on the show today. And I'm
honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
And you have an amazing career, bro. And I brought you here today because you are involved in leadership. You talk about leadership a lot, and you are dealing with this next generation of leaders every single day. I want to start from the beginning, back in 2005. I mean, that's the time I was fighting in Iraq. That's the time Iraq was really going through crazy times. So how did you decide to join the military in 2005?
Well, I got laid off from my job. I had always wanted to be in the Army. I was missing a few big things. one, I had no education, and two, I had no way to get an education. So I went home to my ex-wife. She's super smart, and I was like, hey, I want to join the Army, and I'm going to need you to help me. So we spent about 6 months. I had to pass the GED test first, and then I had to pass the ASVAB twice. And then
Why twice? Did you fail it the first time?
I bombed the shit out of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had no education. I didn't learn to read till I was about 4th grade, maybe level, until I was 20.
And why was that?
Just, my childhood wasn't, the best, and I was a shithead kid. And I just skated through school and cheated everywhere I could.
Okay. Wow.
Because it was too hard for me.
Usually these are the guys that end up doing well in the military.
I thought to myself, like, now this is stupid. I'm not going to need that.
Yeah.
Until I had to read my first application. And that sucked.
So would I say like you had a rough beginning basically, and you just decided just because of everything you've been through, or did something happen that you decided actually like, I'm done with this. I'm going to go change my life?
Well, my oldest brother, one of my oldest brother, is a retired Marine now, and he was in Iraq. My brother died in 2004.
Wow.
And that was my oldest brother, and I thought he was in the Navy, and I was like, I want to serve, but I didn't know how to read, man.
Yeah.
How did your brother?
And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to do that.
Jason, how did your brother die?
He died of leukemia.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
When I was 23.
Was he active duty at the time?
No,
okay.
He had just gotten out of the Navy.
Wow. So he was
not
pretty
too long
young?
After. 30.
Wow.
That's extremely young.
Wow.
Yeah.
Leukemia is no joke.
So I wanted to serve, and my middle brother was serving, and I was like, I can do this, man. I just have to put in the work. And I never looked back once I started.
How like when you walked to the MEP station, or when you met with a recruiter, did you feel that you're about? I mean, did you have any idea what was going on with the military back in 2005? What was happening in Iraq and all that at the time when you joined?
I just knew the war was hot and heavy.
Yeah.
My brother had told me a few things,
Yeah.
I watched the news here and there.
I mean, I would say 2005, 2004, that's like when they really sending anybody they could.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that was like a really crazy year overseas. So, so how did you feel, man, going into like, you're about to go into the military and it's a wartime. We're fighting in two different battles, in the Afghan battle and the Iraq battle. You need to decide to join the military. And how did you feel? Did you feel scared? Did you feel you're going to end up going to combat? How was your feeling? What was going on inside of you when you were about to sign up to all that?
I just thought I had something to offer. I didn't know what it was. But I was willing to try to find out what that purpose was. And I was just kind of a dead-end job all the time. And I was like, I want to be in the Army. And once I got through MEPS, it's funny, though, I was like so gung-ho when I got there.
Yeah.
And then I went off to basic training. I actually called my ex.
Yep, he's
I don't know what happened.
We don't know what happened, man. Like, it's like, we lost you for some reason.
I got full bars.
The last thing that we heard was you called your ex-wife from basic training.
Yeah, I called her right whenever, you get to 30th AG, and that's where you like get your uniforms and all that stuff. And I was like, I fucked up.
Oh.
I need to come home. She's like, what?
Why are you feeling that way after basic training? Like you already got through basic training, right?
What? No, I wasn't in basic training yet.
Oh.
He was just out of MEPS, like just.
Oh, just out of MEPS. So you're just starting basic training where they do the uniform issue.
That's it, yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, shit. And she was like, negative. She literally said, stop being a pussy. She would never say that now. She's a good Christian woman, but
yeah.
Back then she was like, you're not coming home.
You needed that push, basically.
Yeah, and I went back to my bunk and was like, well, I guess we're doing it, dude.
Yeah, and after that, when you finished basic, what did you do after basic training?
Well, I was pretty physical fit, and I got a RIP contract right out of basic training.
What is a RIP contract?
But it's a Ranger Indoctrinational Program.
Oh, nice, cool.
It's what we call RASP now.
Nice.
Is that something you have to qualify for, or like they invite you if you do good enough in the physical?
Yeah, it's pretty much, yeah. They're like so many contracts that they have, and they offer them to basic training kids.
Okay. So they're going to only offer them to like the best physical fitness people?
Yeah, typically they want the weird MOSs that they have hard time getting.
Okay.
And the physically fit infantry guys.
So basically, in order to be selected to Ranger School, is you have to be...
Well, Ranger School and Ranger Regiment are two different places.
Two different places, I see.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. But go ahead and finish, and then I want to ask you about the difference between a Ranger tab and scroll.
Yeah. So I got in some trouble right in my early part of my career when I was in airborne school, and they dropped my RIP contract.
Oh, wow.
And I got sent to Fort Polk, which is like the slap on the wrist I needed. But the men that I met in Fort Polk and the wars that we fought in Afghanistan, Iraq with those guys, I wouldn't do it any different than the way I had to do it.
So they pulled your invitation to RIP.
Yep.
And so you were designated as what when you went to Fort Polk?
Just an infantry guy.
Just infantry. And so you deployed as infantry?
Yeah.
To where?
My first deployment was, we did 11 or 12 months in Afghanistan.
Okay. Wow.
And what year did you go to Iraq, Jason?
November 07 to January 09.
Oh, wow.
Were you gone at that point, Henry?
I was gone, yeah. I left in July in 2008. Yeah, so
so there was a little overlap.
Oh, yeah. So he was like, literally the time I was there, he was there. And I left in 08 in July. I mean, Iraq at that time, that was like the end of the surge in 2007. Mm-hmm. That was like the surge was about to end, election, all kind of stuff going on at the time. And
So we were in the Dora Market.
Oh, you were in Camp Valken. Is that where you were?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit. You know what that called? You know what that base called, Micah?
No.
So Camp Valken basically is called the graveyard of interpreters. I mean, any interpreter that actually worked in Camp Valken or have served in Camp Valken, Dora. So the area is called Dora and Abu Shir. That's the area, the geographic area. It's actually considered one of the most dangerous areas in Iraq. The reason why it's called the graveyard of interpreters because usually interpreters have to go to the base, and the base is outside of the town. So it's clear whoever is actually going to the base, it's clear they're heading towards the base. So actually interpreters used to be a lot of interpreters casualties. Actually, I used to pick up dead bodies from the Ibn Sina hospital.
So what, they just set out there and pick them off?
man, they tried a lot. I mean, the question is,
And they
imagine
get their whole family. Some of them.
it's like, imagine you're an interpreter. You live in Baghdad. You have to report to your duty station, which is Camp Valken. How do you make it there? It's a battle zone. How do you really go there, get there? And then if you get there, that's one thing. How do you go home? That's another thing. So it's really like, it's a graveyard. Yeah. So truly, like it became a norm back in 2005 all the way down to 2008. If you get in trouble as an interpreter and you pissed off somebody, here's what they will do to you. They'll move you, transfer you to Camp Valken.
Oh, man. So it's almost like a death sentence.
Yeah, so it used to be, in 2004, it used to be Fallujah. That's the threat.
Yeah.
Hey, man, if you don't do well, we're going to transfer you to Fallujah. Once Camp Valken kind of beat the credit to that, Camp Valken became the most scary place ever. Perhaps I'm friends with a lot of the infantrymen and the armored divisions that actually served in that area, bro. Like, you're talking about when the EFB came up, the ID, I'm sure Jason remembers all this stuff. That area saw some shit, man, that, like, was really bad.
Wow.
Yeah, so Camp Valken, a lot of people may not know what that meant, right? Probably people were like, oh my God, I served in Sadr City. I served in Anbar province in Fallujah, Ramadi. It was a horrible place. Every horrible is within one level, except when you go to Camp Valken, that's just another level of horrible. Oh, wow. Just another notch up there. And I actually served with an interpreter who is actually an American citizen, who served about a year in Camp Valken. And he was an interpreter for a battalion commander. And at that point, he was so mentally exhausted, he started to choose to go in a Humvee versus a Bradley. And I said, why? Why would you want to sit? So the battalion commander asked him to say, hey, why would you prefer to be in a Humvee? He says, so when the EFB bomb blows up, I can die instantly. I don't have to be stuck or milled down inside of a Bradley. Look at that fucking thinking, right? Wow. That thinking. I want to die instantly. I don't want to burn to death, because he's seen soldiers actually die inside of the Bradley and burn to death. And if you noticed, that's the way the recent Medal of Honor that was in Iraq, the African-American guy, he died that way. Wow. He was trying to save people that were melting down inside of Bradley. So it just goes to show you how you're thinking being in that area. I mean, not to get away from Jason's life, but he just mentioned that name, and just look at the story that go behind that name. Mm-hmm. It's a lot bigger. So Jason, how did you feel about Dora, man? Like, how did you feel when you got there and you started, like, when did you really find out you were in the worst spot on the planet?
Like day one.
So how was it for you when you arrived?
Well, I literally, they threw us in 82nd, threw us in some Humvees on the rip, and was like, "Here we go, boys."
Wow, that was like the welcome, huh?
Yeah.
I think we skipped over something though. So you first deployed to Afghanistan, but now you're talking Iraq. Was Iraq your second deployment?
It was, yeah.
Okay, what happened in between? Did anything happen in between?
I went to sniper school.
Okay.
I failed Ranger school the first time.
So you tried Ranger school, failed, but then you completed sniper school?
I completed sniper school first, and I tried to walk on to Ranger school, and I tore my groin muscle on the road.
So you were medicaled out.
Yeah, my first tour.
So then you healed up, and then you deployed to Iraq?
No, I deployed to Iraq, not healed up. Oh, I healed up while I was in Iraq.
Wow.
So you go to Iraq already injured.
Yeah.
Damn, man. So I have to ask you this, because I only fought in the Iraqi front side as someone who's born and raised there. Like, since you served in Dora, and how do you differentiate between fighting in Iraq and fighting in Afghanistan?
Fighting in Afghanistan was like, we walked everywhere. So we were like old school maneuvers and old school maneuvering weapon systems, and like literally doing infantry tactics. And in Iraq, I was a sniper in Iraq, so that was cool. But we did stay behinds, and we did vehicle patrols,
Yeah.
and that type of stuff. But you know, the sniper and scout platoon that's where you wanted to be.
Completely different
then we
terrain,
started
though,
doing
right?
the time sensitive target stuff.
Yeah.
But completely different terrain, right? You went from like a mountain platform to more of an urban.
Yeah, with completely different terrain. Like the mountains were just brutal.
What did you find, like, Jason, what did you find, like, harder to deal with? And this is interesting to me because I have
opinion.
What's that?
Afghanistan, I feel like I've been Iraq twice, but
Yeah.
Afghanistan was like just mentally harder to deal with for me.
And why would you?
In Iraq, we kind of knew we were drive down that black route, you're going to probably die. And we got to where we could pretty much maneuver around the market.
Yeah.
Or where we knew how to flush them in the right direction.
You got ways to exit, basically, what you're saying in Iraq. You got ways to get out, but in Afghanistan, there's
and you got cover and you got buildings to get in.
True. More infrastructure.
Right. In Iraq, man, like you just in Afghanistan, I mean, you're just walking in the open, dude. Like you're just waiting for the mountains to shoot at you.
Wow, yeah. I mean, I have heard that from many Afghanistan veterans who actually fought in Iraq and just said, hey, it's different. And the one thing I'll have to say about Iraq, in Iraq, they hit and run. Right, Jason? They hit you and they run. Yeah. Especially when the IEDs and the EFBs during his time when he arrived there.
They'd blow an IED, they'd waste a magazine.
And run.
And get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Where in Afghanistan, it's a very long-term firefight.
Well, yeah, they were dug in.
They wanted to get after it.
You're talking about somebody that's been warring for hundreds of years and they're embedded, and this is the
thousands.
Yeah.
Whereas, so you felt like you were they had the advantage in Afghanistan, whereas you had the advantage in Iraq.
You know, I'd say that we had the advantage in both places, but we didn't use our advantages. Now being a senior leader, we didn't use our advantages as well as we should have in Afghanistan.
Okay.
And it's an interesting point you brought up. Very, very interesting point is because Jason came around the 2007 time. See, the enemy in Iraq has actually tried this out in 2004. It's when I fought in Hanford Street, we were to fight exactly the same style of Afghanistan, where we're going toe-to-toe in a firefight and as long as you can hold. See, they tried this out in 2004, and they realized this didn't work because they couldn't stand a chance in front of the U.S. firepower. It was much more stronger. The U.S. had 50 calibers. They got grenade launchers. They got better firepower. So that's when they retreated back, and they changed their style to a hit and run. So it was so fast to get hit in Iraq. You get hit by an ID, they empty the magazine, as Jason mentioned, and then they disappeared.
Wow.
So it's a hit and run. It's almost like a Mike Tyson punch.
Drive by.
Yeah. Boom. Done. And they're out. You don't know. Truly. The next thing, once you get hit, the next thing you see is you have to call a medevac.
Yeah, so you don't even know who you're fighting at that point because it's on.
It's hit and run.
Yeah.
And while in Afghanistan, they are used to fighting. I mean, hey, look, thank God. In Afghanistan, believe it or not, Afghanistan in the recent years started using this same exact style the Iraqis use. And the reason why, because the Afghans, the Taliban, don't come really from a military background. The Iraqis you're fighting comes from a military background, which is Republican Guard, former Iraqi Special Forces, whatever. So they kind of readapt, where the Taliban in Afghanistan is more of a jihadist fighting style, crazy toe-to-toe until one of us die. However, they started learning this hit and run style, and it's frustrating. That's why I think for a Ranger like Jason, it's easier for him to go to toe-to-toe with a guy, which what he been trained for. But it's tougher really when you get hit by an ID and the guy like freaking run away. Yeah. Right? And it's just, he punch you and go, and it's just hard. So I think
coward fighting in my book.
It is. It really is. And it sucks. I mean, I spent '04, that's the last time I got in a really kind of real firefight.
Yeah.
And then after that, everything was hit and run. But where did I really get hurt? Was it when I was really in a firefight? No. When I got hurt really is when they were hit and run.
Yeah.
Because they will hit me with a car bomb, they'll hit me with an ID, and that shit alone just costs you more. So I think it's a great point, right? Because I always wanted to ask someone who served in Afghanistan to what was it like? Mm-hmm. And I think Jason brought a great light into this. And Jason, like, so you deployed to Iraq. When did you go to Ranger School?
So when we got back from Afghanistan, I wanted to go to sniper school because I became a sniper about halfway through the deployment because one of the snipers had went AWOL when he went home on his leave.
Oh, wow.
So I pretty much begged for the job. And so when I came back, I wanted to go to sniper school. And when I went to sniper school, I passed. And then I was like, well, there's a slot to go to Ranger school. And I'll just try to send at that time too. And then I failed and the unit deployed and I caught up with them after my daughter was born.
Wow.
So you fail your first attempt at Ranger school. You go to you deploy to Iraq, injured. You heal up while you're there. You come back. When did you go to Ranger school again?
So I always wanted to be in Ranger Regiment. And we'll talk about the difference now.
Yeah, tell us the difference
one's a
between
school and one's a
Ranger
way of
Regiment
life.
and Ranger school.
All right, one's a school and one's a way of life. So what I mean by that, the Ranger school is the most leader producing, like hard school that the Army has, I think, that outside of like a Robin stage or a whole SF selection type of thing. But as far as the school goes, it's leader development. Young officers go there, young NCOs, for the most part. They go there and they, learn how to lead under pressure, lead under stress, lead tired, hungry, with, minimal information, with men that don't want to do anything because they're tired and hungry.
And this isn't like a pass or fail. Like you can be dropped from the program at any time, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so say you survive. So you survive the school, you make it through. Then you get your Ranger tab.
62 days.
62 days.
Yep. You get your little yellow and black Ranger tab.
And that just means that you passed Ranger certification.
Now you become Ranger qualified.
You're Ranger qualified. So not everybody that's Ranger qualified is actually a Ranger, right?
Right. And this is where people get butthurt a little bit. So yes, you are a Ranger. You're Ranger qualified.
Okay.
But you're not an Army Ranger.
Okay.
From the 75th Ranger Regiment.
So how do you become an Army Ranger?
So to become an Army Ranger, you have to apply your packet. If you're an E5 and below, and go to RASP 1, and it's an 8-week selection that is physically challenging, mentally challenging, and peer evaluated. And if you're an E6 and above, you have to go to RASP 2, which is, we can't talk a lot about it, but at the end of the day, it's physically challenged, it's mentally challenging, and it's one of the most professional courses I've ever been to.
So this is more of a selection process, right? It's not like you make it through and you're done. It's more of a, isn't this the one where you have no idea where the finish line is and they tell you if you passed or failed?
No.
Because I thought that I had heard that Ranger School has no specific ending point. It's not like, okay, it's 7 weeks and you're done.
No, Ranger School has 62 days.
Right.
and RASP 1 has 8 weeks, and you'll meet all your marks and know your graduation date.
Okay.
You're thinking about like SF selection.
Okay. Yes, yeah, you're thinking about SF.
Or CAG selection.
Yeah. I mean, Rangers, I've worked with Rangers and SF and Iraq over the 5 years of war. I think it's just different. There's a different mentality comes from the schooling. Truly, like in my opinion, the best guys I worked with were the Rangers, the Ranger Battalions. They're like more, I feel like they were more humble than others, and they got more leadership skills, which is, I think that's where Rangers really... The
big thing is, in the Ranger Regiment, which is really good, we have the ability to continue to, it's a job interview every day. So you're being selected every day. Just because you made it past selection, don't mean you're going to be a team leader, a squad leader, platoon sergeant, first sergeant. It's peer evaluated every day. Like, you're competing against your peers to see what your next job's going to be. And you have to stay physically, mentally. You have to stay humble, and be able to learn from anybody in the process.
So it's not like,
but also be able to take charge and be a leader.
It's not like you made it through and now you can coast. You got to stay on top of your game.
Yeah, you got benchmarks that you need to be making, to be that next leader.
So did you make it through RASP 1?
Yeah, I went to RIP.
Okay.
So the difference is Ranger Indoctrinational Program. That's what it was called back then. And it was really 4 weeks of just physical, brutal punishment. And, we started with 300. I think we graduated 60.
Oh, wow.
So it was literally just a physical punishment every single day. And that's the Rangers that they wanted back then. They wanted you to be able to put heavy shit on your back, carry it a long way, and kill who you needed in the process.
Would you say the key to make it through that process was more physical or more mental?
I can train my body to do crazy things and endure mass punishment. But your mind is the first thing to break. And for me, I just had to say, nothing lasts forever, man. You're almost done. And to watch others give up on themselves gave me motivation to try harder. And to watch the wheel come full circle as a senior leader. Now when I see that individual like giving up on themselves, back then I wanted to compete against it, and today I want to engage with it and try to bring them up and teach them how to overcome that adversity and think through the process.
Yeah, it's incredible. You're not the first person I've heard say that. I've heard a lot of Special Forces guys say that have been through Navy SEALs or Ranger selection that they were fueled by the quitters.
Yeah.
I've heard that quite often.
You're
saying, now that you're older and wiser, now you're saying you would rather try to bring them up with you.
Yeah, versus lead. I mean, I feel like Rangers are really underrated because of the press. Because if you see now, like, what really, like, out there, you got the being a Navy SEAL, being in the Special Forces, or being a Ranger. And there's a lot of press and movies done about mostly SEALs and Special Forces. And I think people don't realize how important is to become a Ranger.
Yeah, because like Navy SEALs, it's kind of like CrossFitters. You don't have to wonder if they are one. They'll tell you.
Yeah, exactly, right? How do you know? How do you know if there's a Navy SEAL in a bar? He'll tell you.
Exactly.
I mean, I think there's difference, really. Like, I kind of like, over the years of serving in Iraq, because I've noticed there's a difference in the making of these individuals, right? Like I feel like Navy SEALs are just meatheads, right? They're really tough. They're really trained to do what they do, and that's what they're good at. One thing that I noticed with the Rangers over any other thing, the Rangers really had a good leadership skills, which I think it's where Jason was talking about. It's in the making of these schools. I think it's what you make, what you get. And to this day, I do believe the Rangers got actually real good leadership skills. And
I think that one of the big things for that is, we have the ability to release somebody other than like in the regular Army. So the Ranger Regiment, I mean, at the end of the day, is just the most lethal light infantry regiment in the Army. So it's just like an elite infantry regiment, but the what makes it great is the ability to hold somebody accountable and trim the fat with the standards. There is a standard all the way through the regimental commander, and he's tested on his physical fitness, and the regimental sergeant major on down to the lowest private. So it's accountability, and when you learn that and you start being, taught that at an early young tab D4, E5, E6, like you get to see those senior leaders still giving way and doing the right thing and setting the example and leading from the front.
It's a lifestyle, right?
And that's just the example you see.
It's a lifestyle.
And that's why I said one's a school and one's a way of life.
I like that.
And I remember actually a sergeant first class in Iraq, a Ranger, sergeant first class, was beating every single private in his platoon in PT. And I just wonder,
Yeah, I get crap all the time. They're like, man, you're an old man, first sergeant. How are you in such good shape?
Yeah, you see, that's what the beauty of it is. You learn more about them. Is actually you see older people who are more, are more accountable. They train, they keep themselves in shape. So I do feel like being a Ranger is actually a lifestyle.
And when you lead by example, you always command more respect.
Exactly.
Always.
Exactly.
When you say, hey, let me show you how it's done, and you show them.
Exactly.
Right?
You don't.
Versus like, oh, when I was your age, I could do this.
Yeah. No, different mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's really in the mentality. And, I think a lot of... I think Ranger School is a really big target for young officers. And now that Jason actually works in OCS, in the officer candidate school, OCS, like being this veteran that been through Iraq, Afghanistan, you've been through war, you've been involved in training. How do you feel about the current generation of leaders? In your opinion, in all honesty, like what's the difference between your time of leaders during the surge in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan to now a generation, like the younger generation that's going into a Ranger School right now? How do you feel the difference are? What changed and how do you feel about it?
Well, that's a hard one. I'll give it to you. Back then, 2005, 2007, 8, 9, so on, probably till about 2013, the Army needed warriors and killers and people who were going to go to war and go hard every single day on every mission. And they didn't care what that person's character was or their personality flaws or their leadership abilities. They just wanted them to be like, get behind me, let's go. And then after the war started slowing down a little bit, Ranger was doing this a long time, but for the whole Army, it was a kick in their nuts whenever they're like, you can't yell and scream at people. Well, Ranger stopped doing that years ago.
Right.
I'm not saying that people don't get yelled at and scuffed up some, No, sure, they're held accountable, but at the end of the day, they're coached, and they're going to get their correction, and they're going to get the best teaching to never have to have that happen again.
So
in the Army, in the new guys, the new people coming in, they feel a sense of entitlement that they should have a certain level of clout already. And what I try to teach them is you are respected in my company, not because of the uniform you put on, but because of the air you breathe as a human every day. And by that mentality, we're going to teach, coach, and mentor you, and you can earn your clout from there. But you're not given anything in Bravo Company. You're going to have to earn it. And you'll earn your respect. You'll earn your leadership skills. And you'll earn your bar the right way.
So my question to you is, when they come to OCS, when they come to, at this point, they're cadets, right? They are not being saluted by you. They're just cadets going through the school.
Right. So they've either prior enlisted, or they, had their 4-year degree, got accepted to OCS, went through Fort Jackson for basic training.
Nice.
And came to us. So when we get them, I mean, they have the basic soldier skill, or some of them are senior NCOs or E6s, E5s.
Yeah.
So my last class, we had a great mix of NCOs. So what we try to do here is, when we break them up into their platoons, that we flood those senior NCOs to kind of lead that platoon, setting the example for those young officers that don't really know the Army very well.
Yeah, I feel like you mentioned entitlement mentality, and I feel like every generation feels like the next generation is going to be where it ends, right? We always think that we were the best generation, and the next one is going to be less, right? And I have. Well,
the problem is, and I'll tell you this, I like social media. I can tell you that myself, but I can tell you that because of it, and because we're so connected across the board, when I was growing up, man, you didn't answer the phone till you got home.
Right.
And that space allowed people to grow in their self. But now people think they can't grow unless they have affirmation and approval from other people liking their pages or telling them that they're doing great.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world. And you might think you're hot stuff if your video got 1,000 likes on Instagram, right?
I mean, the Marine Corps now decided to make an MOS called social media influencer. Did you hear about that, Michael?
I did not hear about that.
Yeah, the Marine Corps, that actually, I've been seeing some Marine Corps officers there on TikTok, and they were making videos. And that's why I was kind of like, you know what, in my opinion, that this is just a different generation.
Sure.
In our time,
it is.
Right? In our time, there was none of that really existed in Iraq. Really, when we were in Iraq, we were bored to our freaking stomachs, right?
Yeah.
There was no apps. There's no cell phones. You had to go to the...
But here's what you got to do, though, as a leader, I think.
Yeah.
So I have a TikTok, at Ranger Thoughts.
Yeah.
Is my TikTok. And I think we got 14,000 followers or something. But
nice.
You have to, the thing is, you have to learn how to connect with this generation. And, the stuff I put out on there is leader level things or fun video that I do, or shooting or showing something. But you have to learn how to connect with this generation.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it took me swallowing this big old pill of ego to understand that. And I was like, if I want to be a good leader, I have to get rid of that.
You got to go down to their level.
And I wouldn't know if I'd say go down to their level.
Oh.
I would say it was just kind of develop in the time.
I see.
And come to an understanding. You know, our parents were like, you guys suck because you have, you know, weird haircut or whatever.
Right.
Now, you know, we're like, you suck because you have, you know, so much social media or what. So it's just coming to an understanding.
Yeah, you
I
have
think my actual kids help me do that.
I try to do that with my son. Like, instead of always complaining about, like, he doesn't want to do the same things that I do, I realize that if I want to spend time with him, I have to figure out what he's interested in and do that thing. So I think that you're doing the same thing. It sounds to me like you're trying to combat that entitlement mentality in the next generation, and you're trying to combat that and kind of teach them the old school ways of respect being earned, not given, and things like that, right?
Right.
And I think there's difference too.
Yeah.
Like here where there's differences. Like Jason is using TikTok for leadership purposes. Mm-hmm. And he is actually influencing the people out there that want to be in the military or in the military already. So actually I've seen some of Jason's videos and they're actually more, you know, towards leadership. So he's using the platform for a good reason. Did I see other people in the military using the platform for the wrong reasons?
Yeah.
Oh, plenty.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Plenty. Like you're talking about, like they're putting all their information. I can see the board right behind them in the military. I can see information that should not be shared on social media was all in there. And I think it just comes from the younger generation because I don't think they do have that expertise or the age to really know that, you know, I should be careful of my surrounding. I should not be sharing on TikTok, like Instagram or TikTok. An interesting part that I remembered is there was a page on Instagram, and I think it's called Women in Uniform or something like that. It started. Mm-hmm. And truly, it was bad, man, to a point where the women were actually in the military sending their information, their name, their rank, where they live, where they're from, to this page, and they never knew who the admin was.
Wow.
So they never knew who the admin was, but it had a lot of followers and people were sharing. And until someone came into me and he said, hey, man, as an intelligence operative, can you pull this person's background? Can you find out where this page is? And I found out the page was overseas. And
so they were just volunteering information.
Yes, and the page was in China.
Oh.
You learned that as a kid.
Oh, and I was like, whoa. You know, these people are saying, my name is Lieutenant Ashley, whatever, blah, 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 and I am in the 2nd Battalion. I'm in this. I'm an intelligence officer. I'm an MI, and I'm doing this. And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah,
you're putting a database out there. So I actually started like reaching out to a few of the people here in the United States saying, hey, look, don't share your information because this is really for the wrong reasons. You don't know who the admin is. Even though the admin writes you in English, doesn't mean he can speak it. Be careful. So I think you know, I agree with Jason. It's like if we use social media, we got to use it for our own reasons and use it the right way.
And it could be good and bad. I just recently, I don't very often comment on TikTok videos, but I saw one recently, young enlisted Army female. Yeah. And she was glorifying the fact that she was going to medical every week. And she was saying, I'm going to medical every week to build my 100%, meaning that she was going to get out of the Army and get 100% disability. So she was just stacking the deck by going to medical every week and complaining about this, complaining about that.
Yeah.
And as a disabled veteran myself, and you as well, I took it very personal because I fought for years to get my disability.
Yeah, right.
And so I commented, I said, you're giving every legitimately disabled veteran a bad name right now.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, I talked to some Marines who was like, their company commander was on big time on social media. And it's kind of crazy, bro. Like, I have to say this. Like, during my time when I worked with some of these commanding officers, I mean, there's got to be a difference. I mean, I'm not saying that my generation was better. You know, I was young in that war, and there were a lot of people who are older than me. It means they were really older guys. So they come from a very different generation. I can never compare, but I saw a practice that I have never seen before. And I was like, shit, if this happened during my time, I saw the commanding officer was on Instagram and was doing a lot of TikTok, and a lot of her former soldiers were leaving bad comments about how bad of a leader she was.
Oh, man.
And I was like, what era am I living on, right? Like, what is this, right? Like, I have never criticized a captain on social. I mean, are you kidding? Like, seriously, like, this was never the case. And that's why I think people like Jason who is going down that route, trying to use it for the right reason, it could actually help because they're going to be looking at a positive thing and leadership skills and things that they can get, motivated by versus doing a dancing video.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I try to do too, like mental health stuff.
Yeah. I watched a lot of your stuff and I really like it because I feel like you're blogging through these platforms and that's actually huge success. But I think that's a huge idea, right? Like I'm seeing an NCO doing that, but I do see commanding officers are doing the opposite. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe just because his shoes has been on the ground a lot longer.
Yeah. So Jason, you're trying to inspire the next generation of leaders and so what type of hashtags are you using to try to find them? Are you using hashtag motivation or what?
So so whatever my TikTok is about.
Okay.
I'll hashtag
based on the content.
Based on the content.
Okay.
And then I do like all the like Army ones, Ranger, RLTW, 4U page stuff.
Nice.
But I try to like if mine's about motivation, then I'll tag like some motivation things in there. If it's about mental health, I try to tag all the mental health. If I do fitness stuff, I try to do mental health just so because working out, staying in shape, running has really helped me with my mental health.
Oh yeah.
I got a text from Donna the other day. I love her to death. And I sent her back a message, it's like, she saved my life, Dave saved my life like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And Donna saved my life in March. She was sending me to the program.
It's actually, for the people who are listening who has no idea what the program is, this is actually the Defense of Freedom program, the same brain treatment that I went through. I went through the treatment in January. Jason, when did you go through the treatment?
March.
In March. So you went 2 months after me. Wow. And I mean, honestly, this treatment is something I think every combat veteran deserves to have. This is a private treatment.
Is this for people that have PTSD or TBI or both?
TBI or both.
Okay.
Truly, like if you think about it, every veteran who served in Iraq or Afghanistan, especially, I'm talking only about my side of Iraq. In Iraq, there are things blowing up every single day. So most likely, in my belief, every veteran who served in those areas has some sort of a TBI level. Depends how you're. My TBI was horrible. Was bad.
Yeah, you were up close and
clinically depressed.
Yeah. So I went in because I was an Iraqi soldier who was been through 5 years of war continuously, and it was actually interesting, right? Like all the things I dealt with, I have no idea for 12 years what I was dealing with. One of the most interesting things they found out when I went through that treatment is when they did the blood, my cortisol level came back 767.
And what is normal?
70.
So you were 10
mine
times
was like,
more than normal?
I was freaked out.
And what is cortisol?
Mine was through the roof. She's like, you're just living on that.
So cortisol is it's a hormone level. It's a fight-flight hormone, basically. It's like basically the hormone that actually you use being at war. So because I was there for 5 years and because my brain was still hasn't complete, I was only 17 years old going into that war, that my brain did not know how to reset itself. So what they did is they gave me a treatment, which is ketamine. They shoot it through the nose, which is anesthesia. And what it should do is make your brain file a new claim. And it makes your brain reset. So actually, when I went to the clinic, I was not sleeping at all. And then when they gave me the ketamine, my brain started to reset, and then I started really getting a full night's sleep.
So even 12 years after you left combat, your brain still thinks you're in combat.
Basically, my body have left the combat zone. My brain has not.
So you're always on edge. You're always waiting. For
Always.
Yeah. Wow.
And you know, when you ask like my family members, I acted for 12 years exactly how I was in the MOD. I lock doors. I hear everything. My awareness level, everything is coming from that setting.
Yeah.
And by the way, this treatment is not available through any government program. This is the only treatment out in the country that is actually focusing neurologically on where is your TBI treatment. I mean, for me, the only other person that had similar symptoms to me was a POW.
Wow.
Because what I was there for 5 years. I mean,
so what is the name of the treatment again?
So that it's called just called a brain treatment.
Okay, and
yeah,
what's the name of the
RTMS training?
Yeah, so it's like it's what is it called, Jason?
Transcranial.
Yep.
Magnetic treatment.
Yep, that's it.
And who does it?
Defenders of Freedom, which is a private organization.
Okay.
And the way they started is they were greeting veterans coming back from R&R in Texas in the airport, to becoming a full clinic, treating veterans. I mean, look, man, these guys are fighting a giant. There is like 300,000 or so combat veterans that served in Iraq and Afghanistan, which about 99% of them have TBIs of some sort.
Yeah.
And they got a waiting list. I mean, we're really lucky that we got in.
I feel so lucky.
And it really is. Like, there's a waiting list. So I actually went in January with Donna's Cranston's son, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this. I have talked about her son's deployment. Her son deployed during 2004, which was like the combat face-to-face kind of in Iraq. That was a shitty year, right? He had an Iraqi soldier that actually died and saved others, and it's a great story. So when he came to the treatment, he used to refuse to come to treatment. He used to not smile or talk or be, and it's kind of interesting when actually we went through the treatment together, and I kind of got back to see him on the golf outing with Jason. He was a different person. He was smiling. He was talking. He was all like arguing with people. And I was like, this guy 2 months ago did not say a word.
Wow.
That's the difference. So it really is. It's amazing, man. It's like really, and you take all your supplements with you based on what you're really missing. I found out things about my body I didn't even know about.
One thing that's always bothered me as a veteran of the Navy, non-combat veteran, one thing that's always bothered me, I did 6 years, I was injured, I got out. But it's always bothered me that we spend weeks and months training people to be military service members.
Yeah.
And then when you get out, you get 1 or 2 days of like an informational type of thing, and then you're gone, right?
Yeah.
They don't teach you how to become a civilian again, right? They're just like, okay, well, good luck. See you later.
Yeah. Or it's not just that. You're thinking about people like Jason, let's say, come back from Iraq. They didn't have any idea back then. People coming back or need help.
Yeah.
They have no idea. You know that they figured out in the later years, they figured out, oh, people are really coming back, really fucked up. We need to do something. So,
and there's kind of a stigma against mental health, right? I think sometimes, like, you probably, Jason, you can tell me, is there some, like, when you come back from combat, is there some kind of like form you fill out, like, I'm feeling this way or that way?
Yeah, but who sees it though? Your senior medics, your primary care manager, blah, blah, blah.
And you're probably feeling like, I better not check the wrong box here because I don't want anyone to think I'm messed up.
So some people, they don't care. They're like, I don't care. I'm, schizophrenic, whatever. If they do that, that's good. And if they got the problems, and they stepped up to the plate. But other, people are like, I really want to keep doing this job. Mm-hmm. They're like, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
Until you're not good.
Right.
And, I was always feared. I was like, well, if I go get help and they report to my command team, they're going to take me out of my leadership position.
Yeah, not fit for service.
Yeah.
Or something, right?
Majority,
not fit for duty right now. Needs to.
Jason,
and as a Ranger, man, I'm going to put on a mask and drive hard.
Right. So you went through a similar treatment than Hamidi did 2 months after he did. Can you describe like any kind of what type of changes happened as a result of that treatment?
I was clinically depressed. Like I was just done with everything. I'd lay in bed. I didn't want to work out anymore, and that's a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really want to spend much time with my kids. I was anxious about everything. I didn't care about the day. And, I was going through a divorce at the time. It's just a lot stacking. And after the treatment, I mean, I've had days where like, man, but I'm not depressed. Like I know I was, I don't really get anxious much. If I do, I'm asking a lot better.
Do you feel like do you feel like those problems that you were experiencing were a result of like coming from a combat role and then back to like a non-combat role? Maybe you felt like you're not as useful or something?
I just didn't have a purpose.
Okay.
And my head hurt all the time. I have migraines.
Wow.
Like all kinds of crazy shit.
I feel like a lot
cloudy
of
and foggy all the time.
I feel like a lot of veterans, combat and non-combat, kind of experience that when they come back stateside, or even if they separate from the military altogether. They kind of have this feeling like they're lost now because they've been trained to be a public servant, and they've always had a purpose, and then they either separate from the military or they come back stateside. They're no longer deployed, and they kind of fall into this rut of like, what do I do now? I'm useful, or I'm useless, right? And I feel like that's pretty common with a lot of military members.
I just did, for me, I had retirement coming up soon. I knew I wanted to retire. I mean, I got 5.5 years of deployment time.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I think 12 or 13 deployments. And, I've seen a lot of shit, and I'm just like, I'm done with it. I'm proud of everything I've done, but I just kind of keep most of that to myself unless people ask me questions about it.
Yeah, because it's probably tough to relate to people like your peers, right? Like your civilian peers. It's probably tough to relate to them because you probably feel like you're so much more experienced than them because all of the experiences you've had in your life.
My big civilian mentor, sorry. His name's Dave Elder.
Mm-hmm.
And he has been my biggest transition shoulder to lean on. And, I'm horrible about giving myself credit. I'm just like, okay, thank you.
I mean, we started off the show by reading all of your decorations, and oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever read a list that long. So yes, you definitely deserve some credit.
I tell people, I'm really appreciative of the comments that people say to me, and I'm very humbled by how they think of those things. But I told my class this, and I try to tell the younger generation, don't ever base someone or a leader off what they have done. Base it off what they are doing. I
like that.
So,
yeah, I've heard so many people the typical jock that peaked in high school. They're like, well, in high school, I benched 300 pounds, this, that. Nobody cares what you used to be able to do. Everyone cares what you're doing now, right?
Right. And it's hard to try to continue to live by that every day, right? Because you wake up and hold yourself to that standard.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have something to hold yourself.
So I wanted to ask you, you've had plenty of failures. You described a few of them. You've had plenty of failures in your career. When you encounter failure, what do you do?
honestly, I've never failed anything. I just learned from a lot of things.
I love that.
I love that mentality, Jason. And by the way, you know who just texted me? Like literally, her foot was itching her. Donna Crunston just texted me. Yeah. And literally, she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I sent a screenshot of your face." She's like, "Oh, how cool is that?" I was like, "Yeah." I thought I got Jason here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and she loves like hearing good news. I mean, literally, like this woman is so incredible, man. Like, God. Look, I say this: there's people that serve overseas and do something like right,
yeah,
and our service stops at a certain point. There are people that don't stop serving. And this lady really has just been saving
selfless service,
selfless.
Wow,
saving us from ourselves, pretty much, man. And she never stops, man. Like I can give up on myself sometimes. Women never give up. It costs her so much money to put each veteran. It's a private program,
right?
To put each veteran through this program. She doesn't short you on anything.
No, she don't.
She puts you on the best hotel. Make sure you eat the best food. She gives you the best treatment. And take care of you like her own son.
Sounds like we need to have her on the podcast.
We do, and I really is like you're hearing Jason, me, all of the people that went through the treatment. Man, I feel even myself. I felt guilty when I left that treatment. The reason I felt guilty because I was privileged to get through it.
Yeah,
and then I said, I was like, how many people out there that are going through tough time, right? And this is a very dangerous zone. Mm-hmm. When Jason said, I lost interest, I was not working out, I was clinically depressed, don't ever think this is a depression. No, it is actually your TBI. It's your injury that is going untreated. And that's what it do to you. It can make you not sleep, not want to work out, it can make you get overweight, it can make you do a lot of different things and decisions you don't want to make.
So what's the first step if you feel like you're going through something like that?
I mean, honestly, there are no programs other than this program in the country that's doing this. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't lie to you and say, hey, you can go to the VA and get help. No, man. Yeah. The truth is,
it's tough.
There are no programs that are concentrated as much. And Jason would tell you, I mean, it's 14 days.
Yeah.
You're in a clinic every single day for 6 hours. It's no joke.
Wow.
Yeah. No government's going to offer you that, brother. Being honest.
Yeah. It's tough. Jason, what you just said was really inspiring. Can you repeat it again? When I asked you about failure, what did you say?
I've never felt anything. I just learned from a lot of things.
That's incredible. So on that note, through your TikTok and a lot of other things that you do, you're kind of inspiring and motivating the next generation. Who inspires you?
Dave, my kids, the Lord. I put a lot of stock in my children, and Dave and the elder family, and people like Donna, and just the amazing people like Ron and Ahmad, and just all the people I've had the honor to meet, Kelsey, and just those type of people, like the EPI program I go into, Kelly, Linda, and Tara, like they are calling me. They send me texts, once a week or randomly, and they're like, "Hey, thank you for being who you are." And to me, that none of those people owe me anything. None of those people barely know me, just a few times that they've met me. And the fact that they can take 2 seconds out of their day to say, "I'm thinking about you," makes me want to do better every day.
I like that. I try to focus on a lot of positive mentality type of podcasts and things like that. And I've heard, and let's see if you agree with this statement. I've heard a lot of people say that you are an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so you should be careful who you surround yourself with, because if you're hanging out with one loser, then you're 20% loser. How important do you think
influence is? I would agree that I have TikToks on this. show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You know, like I cut a lot of toxic people out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I deleted phone numbers. I told people I didn't want to talk to them anymore. Just because the way their life was going and how that they didn't want to do anything different to change it.
Yeah.
And I surrounded myself, you know, with Dave, Buddy, Marcus, like my dog, like all those type of people that just want to see positive change in the world.
I love that. Yeah,
And
I've cut a lot of
it has
people out.
inspired me.
I've cut a lot of people out myself personally. The quickest way out of my inner circle is to be a negative person or someone who always complains. And I think that's really important, whether they're friends or even family. I've cut family members out of my life.
You'll
I
like
did the
this.
same.
Yeah.
I have done the same.
When I was a young squad leader, I hate complaining. I'm like, that doesn't do anything to bring everybody down. If I'm already feeling shitty,
Mm-hmm.
you're just trying to help that out.
Yeah.
So when I was a squad leader, I would tell the squad, I'd be like, all right, 6 o'clock, PT starts at 6:30. You can bitch about whatever you want. In that 30 minutes, you ain't allowed to bitch about anything else the rest of the day.
I like it.
And I was like, we're going to be positive. We're going to be motivated. We're going to teach, coach, and mentor each other. And we're going to crush whatever we get tasked to do.
And Jason, I always meant to ask you this, and I don't want to forget about it. I'll have to ask you, I usually ask guys what is the most craziest story they ever experienced in combat. Knowing that you actually served in Iraq and Afghanistan, I would have to ask you this, and this is going to throw you off a little bit. What is the most funny thing you ever seen in combat? Like last week, me and Micah talked about like some of the situations that we were through, that went through in Iraq. Like an example, I had an Iraqi soldier that ran away from psych ward and became a soldier and then ended up fighting in the front lines with me. And I would want to say, like, while in deployment, what is the craziest thing, or you could say the funniest thing, or the thing that just made you not forget to the rest of your life you ever seen? And let's say Iraq, an example. What is the craziest thing you ever seen while being over there?
Craziest thing in Afghanistan, that's an easy one. That's a hard one. I'll give you the Afghanistan one.
Yeah.
Iraq was such a long time. Well, I'd say the craziest thing I saw in Iraq was incoming and watching the fuel area just completely burn to the ground. Damn. I guess we're walking.
How did you feel? Did you find Iraqis in general?
Chocolate.
Like, who did you find more entertaining, Iraqis or Afghans?
Iraqis tenfold.
Oh, okay, Iraqis are more entertaining than Afghans.
Well, they're more. The kids are more needy.
I would say that's like more of the adults as well, right?
Yeah, they're asking you for candy all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
in Iraq, in Afghanistan, the older kids will come up and just slap the shit out of the kids that get away from them. In Iraq, they'll all swarm you at one time.
Oh, yeah. And they're all asking for candy or something?
Chocolate, candy, chocolate, candy.
Yeah.
Wow. What were you saying about you said an incoming, you meant like an incoming missile and the fuel depot or whatever blew up?
Yeah, hit the rock. Yeah, hit the fuel blivet.
Jeez. And you were nearby?
No, the fuel is on the other side of the base.
Oh, damn.
We just watched it burn.
Wow.
Damn.
It's like, well,
I mean, things like that happen, man, when they're shooting like incoming mortars or Katyushas or kind of. Iraq, we had Katyushas. These were no joke. Like, I could get hit by mortar any day you want. I wouldn't mind. Katyushas, I don't play around with those.
What's the difference between the two?
Katyushas are actual rockets. These are like about a half a meter rocket. It's about this big, man. And it's like...
They lay them on a piece of angle line?
Yep, they put it on a piece of angle line. And sometimes they have a system where it's like 6 of them will come at you. And it's like maybe 3 seconds between each one. Dude, I mean, when they come, they're so fast.
Yeah.
And when they hit the ground, they make like a 10 feet hole in the ground. They're scary.
Wow.
And geez, man.
It's like the Russian version of a Hellfire missile.
Yep. That's what it is. Bro, it's scary. When that thing comes in, like, it is no joke when it hits. And it hits hard.
You can hear it coming.
Oh, yeah. And even when it hits the ground, dude, it would shake the shit out of that place. Wow. Like, I would... When I saw Katyusha, I could tell you I didn't even bother running to the bunker. I'm like...
because you're dead, right?
It's like, I'm like, lay down and just pray for your luck.
Wow.
Yeah, where mortars, like, was that shit was like nothing, man. That was like, with every time you go to the DFAC, they hit you. But you're talking Katyushas, this is no joke. It could really... And I'm sure when you were in Dora and Camp Vulcan, dude, you were getting hit a lot with those, huh?
It rained every day.
Every day. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. In some bases, it's like, you know the time, right? Like, you really know what time they do it. And actually...
Just knew when not to go to chow.
Yeah, they do it around DFAC time. Holy crap. I talked about that in previous podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, I learned over the 5 years I was there, when is the right time to go to the DFAC. If you go around 11:30 when they open, you're really putting your life in your hands.
So it just depends how hungry are you.
Yeah, if you go around 6:30, between 6:30 and 7 a.m., you're putting your life in your hands.
Man.
I used to hit the DFAC, and I learned it, 1:45.
Oh.
Because they close at 2. And when did they hit you? At 11:30 to 12:30. I learned that. I learned the hard way because,
fun.
Yeah.
It's fun, though, in the chow hall, you can see who all the Rangers or infantry guys are.
Yeah. There
starts blowing up and there's C-rams going on.
Yeah, and it's
everybody's running, and I'm just like, good, I can eat in peace.
I can eat in peace. It's kind of funny, right? It used to be like people who decide to run, and there are people who've been in the country long enough, they just don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah,
they're like, I don't care. And
so the guys running are the guys that just got there, right? Like,
no, it could be really anybody. Like, I have seen some like high-ranking full-bird colonels for fucking go like shit. I mean, it's no joke, bro. If you're thinking about it, if a mortar, that DFAC is not a building. It could be a tent,
right?
A giant tent. That mortar could totally land in your plate. And
you know how many times I've said, at this fucking point, I wish it would just hit me.
Oh my gosh. Because it's really psychologically so draining. And it's talking about a fun story. Like, back then when we were all like going to the DFAC. So in 2004, the Iraqi military and the U.S. military were eating in the same DFAC in Camp Honor. That's the name of the camp. It's in the Green Zone. And the mortars were like daily, right? And every once in a while, they give you a treat. They'll send you Katyushas. So I learned the hard way. I have seen people freaking die over breakfast. And that's when I was like, you know what? I think MREs are not that bad. And truly, I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this because I'm seeing them do it every day. And I've seen people got shrapnels in the stomach, bro. It's no fun. And I was like, okay, so what's the time here? So I started eating lunch at 1:45. Breakfast, 7:55. That was my time.
Yeah.
And dinner, I would wait until about 7:30 to 8 o'clock.
The crappy part is that you're just getting all the leftover food that nobody else wants.
I mean, here's the deal, bro.
But you're alive.
It's either you get the steak, either you become steak. Which one? Which one? And you know, the DFACs were amazing, right, Jason? Like, during our time in Iraq, the DFAC, it was like everything, good. Right? Like, it was like steak and seafood every Wednesday, double like burgers. It was like the shit, man. The DFACs in Iraq during that time, it was like ridiculously like you got 9 giant refrigerators full of every drink you can ever.
No. I think there's a different perspective, though. You grew up like with nothing, with rations.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So this food is probably amazing for you.
Oh, that was heaven for me.
What would Jason say?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Do you think it was all that?
Well, from my first deployment in Afghanistan, we got issued MREs. We lived in a platoon fob. We barely had enough water. We finally got a cook and had tea rations, which basically smells like shit, kind of tastes the same.
Wow.
But that was a horrible time, and that's pretty much how we eat. And then, fast forward, go to Iraq and have like a hard structured chow hall where like cold milk. Like I stopped drinking milk in Afghanistan because I got so sick. And I was like, there's the milk. And I've never touched it again.
Wow.
I've never touched Army milk, not even in the chow hall here. You can forget it.
Did it come in those bags?
That's how sick I was.
Like the bags?
Well, they had the ones that come in the carton that was
it's like
good for 40 years.
Paper. So how did you feel? How did you feel about like coming to the DFAC in Iraq? How would that feel for you?
I remember walking in there like, what the hell?
Yeah, you're like, I'm deploying to the Beverly Hills.
They had cake.
Yeah.
Like fresh baked cake.
Yeah.
So it's just like you
like,
walked into the Golden Corral for your first time, right?
Better. Better than the Golden Corral. Screw that. Yeah, Golden Corral is nasty compared to some of the DFACs.
They have good food.
Nice.
Great food. Honestly, you can get as much as you want. You got buffets of salad, burgers, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Eat as much as you want, bro. That's the good thing about the Iraq War.
Nice.
If you had and then they started building giant DFACs, right? They started building like Camp Taji built a really giant one. The Grain Zone, they built a beautiful, large one.
Mm-hmm.
We were truly fed well over like the later years on the Iraq War. The early years it sucked because you're eating MREs.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 2004, I had no idea. I'd been to one DFAC. In 2006 and 2007, that's when big ass DFACs started coming around, and you felt like you were really, for me as an Iraqi, I mean, shit, dude. I mean, I was living under sanctions for 12 years. I couldn't eat meat, and then all of a sudden you're like, how many burgers do you want?
Yeah.
And I was like, I have never seen one, brother. Like just. Yeah.
Just don't give me the bacon cheeseburger.
No, I mean, truly, I'll be honest, man. I only saw bacon in the morning.
And you didn't eat it, right?
I didn't eat it, of course, but the amount of times I ate pork in the DFAC in Iraq, it was fucking like a lot. Because I didn't know.
You didn't know it was pork.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, it's funny. I was eating like ribs. They were making the ribs, and I was eating the ribs for about 3 months. And I'm digging through like
this is great
ribs. I was like digging through it, and then the Indian guy behind the KBR guy, he goes, he's like, brother, you're a Muslim, right? I said, yeah. He saw the Iraqi flag. And he goes, this is pork, haram. And I looked at it, I was like, motherfucker, I've been eating this for 3 months. And I was like, why was it so good, and it was really like, I was like, shit, I didn't know, right? Like,
the forbidden fruit is always the best.
It really is. I didn't know, man. Like, it was nobody to tell you. If the people behind the KBR guys, the Indian guys, if they didn't give a shit, they don't care. They're like, just take your meal and go. They had thousands of people they had to feed every day. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. And then I became like the kind of the menu guy where all the Iraqis are eating. They're like, hey, is this pork or is this beef? And if they really piss me off, I'm like, yeah, that's okay. You can go eat it.
Hey, Jason, I want to switch gears a little bit. You said that one of your biggest inspirations is your children. I heard that your son was also a Ranger. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, man, I'm super proud of all my kids.
Nice.
But my oldest son, he's 22 now. Mm-hmm. And he joined the Army right out of high school. He wanted to be a Ranger. And I tried to talk him out of it.
Wow.
I did. I was like, join to be, something that's going to pay for you in the civilian world. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't having it. Hard-headed like his old man. So I had to help him get his RAS 1 contract rightfully so. I had no problem doing that. And then I was actually a first sergeant, and he wanted to go to 3rd Ranger Battalion. And I was like, nope. And I sent him to 175 in Savannah. But pinning his scroll on his arm, pinning his airborne wings.
Wow, what did that feel like? So he graduated selection, all that, and you got to go pin his scroll.
Yeah,
that must have been incredible.
It gives me chill bumps thinking about it.
And you're trying to protect him. I give it to you for not wanting him to go through it, because you're right. A lot of people do these amazing things in the military, like yourself, and then they come out and they're really, what else is out there to get paid as a sniper, right? There is none. You want them to build a life. And I see that with every military person.
I'm very honored to have my son wear the same uniform. And on my TikTok, I do one called Passing the Torch. And I have a flag that I carried with me for most of all my deployments. And I was able to give that flag to my son in Iraq, actually, in Bashir.
Gosh. Wow.
And he carried the torch for a whole Ranger deployment.
Wow.
That sounds incredible. So you have that TikTok, and your TikTok is at Ranger Thoughts?
Yep.
Okay, like THOUGHTS, Ranger Thoughts.
It's amazing, actually, for any teenagers, anybody. It's extremely safe and full of leadership.
Yeah, I have to go see that.
I would not have any trouble with any of our kids following this.
Yeah,
because it's really positive, 100%. And
I just did one this weekend. I gave a little shooting course.
I saw that
to Eric Anders.
I saw that. It was cool
in the UFC.
Yeah, it was really cool. I loved it. I watched it. I saw you were like shooting at the end and doing some stuff in there.
Yeah, his son too.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, and I you know what, I think it comes down to, man, leadership and influencing through leadership. That's a huge, because imagine how many kids are out there watching this, right? It could make them make the same decision Jason made back in 2005, back in April, right? And it could make them to want to be somebody versus being lost. And I do think that, yes, we need to be on those social media platforms in order to reach this generation, because that's where this generation is at. Back in the day, recruiters had to go to high school to talk to people. You barely talk to people in uniform. Now there's a lot of access. You can see other people in uniform, what they've been through. And Jason, before we close this show, I wanted to ask you this. How do these young officers coming through school, through OCS, feel with someone of your background? Do they ever ask you about war? Do they ever wonder what you've been through? Do you ever feel that they want to be in your shoes one day?
They humble me all the time, and I'm very honored by how they think of me and the respect they have for me. They voice it pretty openly, which is, humble, but I'm very approachable. I'm not your typical like hard ass first sergeant. I also assist the suicide awareness class with the chaplain, because I myself almost committed suicide in 2019, or attempted, and I have a service dog now because of it. And I've had a lot of things to overcome, and mental health, and just a lot of people that just showered me and helped me and got me to where we're at today. So I'm very open with those young guys and young officers, women, and they approach me. It makes that very approachable, and they ask me questions about leadership, and I do a class that's called Feelings, Emotionals, feelings, emotions, and values.
Mm.
And we go into like an hour block of instructions on that. And we get a lot out about my career and about some personal atrophy that I've had in my life. And like I said, I just try to be really open, and I still lead from the front in the class. I lead all the runs. I lead all the ruck marches, and being out there, being a leader in front, trying to continue to set the example for others to follow the best I can.
Jason,
until I
you
get out
have
of the Army.
You have your Ranger Thoughts TikTok. Do you have any other social media that you wanted to tell us about?
I have my Instagram, and it's one shot 23, I think.
I'll send you a follow. You'll see the Terrorist Whisperer, the name of my book. And that way I can tag you actually on this podcast. And when we put the trailer or the teaser of this podcast, I mean, this was an amazing show, Micah. I think that a lot of people can learn things from. I find it extremely powerful when you learn from people that actually been through experiences. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of motivators out there, right? But I really find it more value when you actually talk to people who really been struggling.
Yeah.
And then you can actually relate. Motivation is all great. I mean, sometimes hearing all positive things is amazing, but sometimes you got to relate. When you see people of this background, everything they have accomplished in their life, and they still struggle, it makes you feel like you're not alone in this world, that there's somebody. And it makes you feel like, hey, like I went through the treatment. Other people went through this treatment, and we just all become one family. Mm-hmm. Because once you go through a treatment like that, you get your brain kind of all taken care of, and then you're in the right track. It makes you want to help others. Because you are coming out of this, your brain is completely fixed. And I feel honored that I'm glad I had somebody that's still out there serving and was able to get the treatment while being in active duty. I think he's actually one of the only few that been through the brain treatment while still active.
I feel honored. I feel humbled that you guys want me to come on this show. I don't, like I said, probably don't give myself enough credit. Like I always say that, but I just want to do what I can to save somebody from going through some of the things that I've been through. Mm-hmm. And if my humility saves one person's life, I'll be happy.
Jason, I want to thank you for your service and all of your sacrifices, especially your 5.5 years away from your family that you spent deployed. I will ask you, though, if you were a Navy SEAL, I would not have to ask you this question, but would you ever write a book?
Actually, I've actually done kind of a shell for one.
Okay.
But if I might do it, but it's just going to be hard for me. I would do it, but if it did, it's not going to be anything like, it'll be a lot of war stuff in there, yes, but it'll be a lot of mental health and a lot of motivation and a lot of overcoming adversities.
Sounds like you're thinking about it. So you're not going to be pounding your own chest, you'd say.
And as someone who wrote a book, I would tell you, man, you are on the right track. Because you're right.
The name of the book is going to be, the name of the book, if I do write, is going to be called The War Inside Me.
I love it. I think you already like that title.
We're gonna stay on the edge of our seats waiting for that one.
I think that is actually a great title, and I really believe that everybody needs to have it. There's more than just combat stories, right? I wrote my story because I was born and raised in that war. Mm-hmm. But I think that you have to have a niche in every book. As someone who's been an author myself for years, and Jason, you're in the right track, man. You're thinking this right, and you really just got to make this happen. And if you ever need help in that area, I'll be more than happy to help you. I'm friends with many authors and writers that actually specialize in this, so I can always put you on the right track. And you know what? You're inspiring, and you could actually inspire others with this book. So you should definitely consider it, because when you're out of the military, you're not going to be talking to these people anymore. You're not going to be advising kids other than your social media. But with a book like that, you can change a lot of mentalities. Jason, make sure after we stop this show, please don't hang up, because we have to let the download of the show come through. But again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us in the Black Side Show.
Thanks, Jason.